The world is really a troubled place. It's troubled all over. There are all kinds of reports of abuses and potential war. And thanks to Vladimir Putin's strategic moves and his military buildup, Russia is now a rising power in the Middle East, while America under Barack Obama appears to be on the decline. That's the situation now as John Kerry meets Russia's foreign minister in Vienna tomorrow.
And it's not just Syria that's proving to be a hot spot for the United States and its allies. Now Iran is testing a missile with nuclear capabilities as well. Dale Hurd has the story.
For the first time since Russian warplanes began flying combat missions in Syria, U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry will meet in Vienna Friday with Russian officials. The meeting will follow a visit to Moscow this week by Syrian ruler Bashar al-Assad, the first known trip outside his country since the start of its conflict more than 4 years ago. Assad owes Putin a great deal. He was losing before Russian forces began operations against rebels. The red carpet welcome for Assad, who has used chemical weapons on his own people, was a slap in the face to the West and is seen as an effort by Russia to position itself as the leading power broker in the Syrian conflict.
What I can tell you is, regardless of the visit, nothing's going to change about what we're focused on. Just two things: going after ISIL inside Syria and inside Iraq, and trying to get at a political track, a political solution here in Syria.
But perhaps something should change, because critics say Vladimir Putin is outmaneuvering Obama on the chessboard of the Middle East, as the White House now looks for a way to salvage its agenda for the region. And while the Syrian crisis is unfolding, another major problem in the Middle East, as the United States, France, Britain, and Germany have asked the UN Security Council to investigate and take appropriate action against Iran for conducting a ballistic missile test earlier this month, which they say violated UN sanctions, although the U.S. called the test entirely separate from its nuclear deal with Iran. Dale Hurd, CBN News.
You wonder what's going on, ladies and gentlemen. I do. You have to say, what is going on in Washington? What is wrong with those people? Here, they just bend over backwards to make a deal to give away our sanctions, to give away over $100 billion of money that's been sequestered, to set Iran up as the leading proponent of terrorism in the Middle East. And then when Iran launches a missile, that thing has at least the one that we don't have the exact specs on it, but the one they're thinking about would have a 1,000-mile range, which means that all of Europe would be under nuclear threat from Iran. Not only Israel, but all of Europe. It wouldn't yet come to the United States, but our European allies would be cowed by the Iranians. And what are we doing? We say, well, that really isn't part of the deal we've negotiated so carefully. And you just ask yourself, why? We've spent so long gaining the power and the influence we have in the Middle East, and we've frittered it all away in a matter of a couple of weeks. Well, here at home, the former Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton, now the presumptive Democrat nominee for the presidency, she's finally testifying before Congress about what really happened during that deadly attack in Benghazi. John Jessup has that story.
That's right, Pat. It's Hillary Clinton's day in the hot seat, with Republicans questioning her about her actions during the Benghazi attack that killed 4 Americans. Clinton's appearance is the first public hearing in nearly 10 months for the special House committee investigating what happened in Benghazi. She was, of course, Secretary of State at the time of the attack and has testified before, but the committee wants more answers. Democrats criticize the committee, saying it is a partisan effort to undermine Clinton's bid for the White House. But a new poll shows Americans overall view the investigation as justified. Pat, back to you.
Well, this is going to be a nothing. Don't get your hopes set up for anything, really. This Trey Gowdy is a tremendous prosecutor, and he's chairman of the committee, so he might force her to do something. But there's a guy named Elijah Cummings. He's a black congressman from Maryland who is set as the minority leader of that committee to frustrate everything that's done. So whatever she says, they're going to protect her, and she's going to be protected. There is no way that the Democrats are going to allow their lead person to be pilloried in a Senate committee. You watch what's going to happen. He's a House committee, I'm sorry, House Representative. Well, the man some called Clinton's potential main rival for the Democratic presidential nomination won't even be in the race. But some pundits believe Vice President Joe Biden did leave the door open in case Clinton, the front runner, stumbles. That's highly questionable.
That's right. That's right, Pat. When Joe Biden announced he wouldn't run for the White House next year, he rocked the political world with his White House Rose Garden announcement, alongside with his wife Jill and President Obama. Biden says he's still grieving after losing his son Beau to cancer earlier this year. His decision surprised many people here in Washington, including some on his own team. Well, tensions are rising in Haiti ahead of Sunday's first round of presidential balloting in local elections. Officials say at least 15 people were killed over the last few days in Cité Soleil, one of the biggest slums in the country, on the edge of the capital, Port-au-Prince. Riots have also erupted in other parts of Haiti every day now for months. Caitlin Burke visited one of those areas and brings us the story of one organization that's trying to help, even in the midst of chaos.
The town of Arcaye sits along the main road running through Haiti. Driving through, it looks much like any other community you would find here, until you take a closer look.
These scorch marks are from the daily riots and roadblocks set up in this community, reminders that it's not safe.
Those daily riots and protests against the government have been happening in Arcaye for months. They break out without warning and often result in violent altercations between the rioters and police. Children's Lifeline, an organization that partners with CBN's Orphans Promise, has been working in the community for nearly 20 years.
We're not working for the government, we're not working for anyone, but we're working for God.
The organization's school feeding program has been affected by the riots, but they refuse to let the children in their care go hungry.
Under normal circumstances, these kids would all be in school right now, eating their lunches delivered by Children's Lifeline. But because of political unrest, it's not safe. So instead, all who are able come here because school's not in session.
For those who can't make it to the Children's Lifeline complex, staff members pack the food into buckets and travel either by truck or on foot to make sure it's delivered.
We try to do our best, even we got problem in this area, but we still send them food. The other days, we got a problem because no vehicles can just drive on the main road. Any driver can go to that road. But what we do, we carry the food in our head, to transport to the kids because we care about them.
It's unknown when school will be able to resume for the children of Arcaye. But Children's Lifeline says despite the violence, it won't stop carrying out its mission. Caitlin Burke, CBN News, Arcaye, Haiti.
Thanks, Caitlin. Pat, what a great work this organization is doing.
I appreciate that so much. We've been working very strong in Haiti. Operation Blessing has been there for a couple of years. We have major chlorination project to give them fresh water. We have major feeding projects to provide tilapia fish, maybe millions of pounds of fish, to make that available to them so that we're trying to enable them to live a decent life. But the trouble with Haiti, it has such corruption. It had the so-called Papa Doc Duvalier, who was a vicious dictator, had what is called the Tonton Macoute. His secret police had beat and harassed the people. Then his sons, they call him Baby Doc, came along, and he was as crooked as could be. And then you have a guy that Bill Clinton tried to put in called Aristide, who again, from all indications, was a vicious dictator. And those people are suffering. I read a very cogent article by Mary Astasia O'Grady that indicated the level of corruption, that there are certain families that have dominance in monopolies such as the telephone company and the power company and so forth in Haiti, and those people don't have a chance. Unless there's a major overhaul, and it doesn't look like it's going to happen. They just seem to be under the sway of vicious dictators over and over and over again. And there are probably more of the NGOs, non-government organizations, working in Haiti than almost any country on earth. But what they do is just overcome by the corruption. So if there's a country that needs our prayer, they're lovely people. They work hard when given a chance, but they've been held under by these monsters who have been their leaders. It's awful. Well, there's something else that is on the horizon. One branch of the UN is rearing its head to do something stupid, and here it is. John, tell us about it.
That's right, Pat. UNESCO, the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, has voted to declare 2 Jewish biblical holy sites to be Islamic. And it also accused Israel of mistreating Palestinians on Jerusalem's Temple Mount. Ephraim Graham has that story.
Israel says UNESCO is helping Palestinians to rewrite biblical history and transform the Israeli-Palestinian conflict into a religious one.
UNESCO has become an instrument in the hands of the Arabs and the Palestinians.
The United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization passed a resolution saying the tomb of the patriarchs in Hebron and Rachel's tomb in Bethlehem are an integral part of Palestine. Earlier, they claimed both as mosques. Israeli Foreign Ministry spokesman Emmanuel Nahshon says the declaration helps Palestinians promote their political narrative.
It is an attempt by the Arab side and by the Palestinians to change history, to pretend as if those places which are holy places for Judaism, which have been holy places for Judaism for thousands of years, are actually Palestinian or Muslim holy places.
Historical evidence indicates the biblical forefathers Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob were burned in the cave of the patriarchs along with their wives. The site of Rachel's tomb is believed to be the burial place of the biblical matriarch Rachel, the favored wife of Jacob. The resolution stopped short of including the Western Wall as part of the Alaska compound, as Palestinians had hoped. It would have renamed the plaza Al-Barak, after Muhammad's winged horse.
Even in such an organization as UNESCO, which has become a puppet in the hands of the Palestinians, there is a limit to what you can do. But I have no doubt that they will try again.
The resolution also accused Israel of aggression on the Temple Mount. Yet Palestinians have repeatedly attacked police and visitors to the Temple Mount, the holiest site in Judaism. The current wave of terrorism is a reaction to what they say are Israeli attempts to change the status quo. Israel denies any charges there.
This Palestinian initiative is certainly related to what we live here on the ground. Palestinian violence, Palestinian incitement, and also the attempt to transform a conflict into a religious conflict.
Earlier, Palestinians set fire to the tomb of the biblical patriarch Joseph. Palestinian Authority Chairman Mahmoud Abbas condemned that arson attack. But Nahshon says it's a sign what would happen if Palestinians were in charge.
The Palestinian arson of Joseph's tomb demonstrates very clearly what would be the fate of Jewish holy sites if they were under Palestinian control.
Dr. Cornelius Becker from Regent University said Christians should care because it's their history too.
The history of Israel is about God's choice. God chose Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Joseph here, the very tomb that's now been set on fire. And so we feel a kinship with Israel because it's about God's choice and it's our history. Jesus was a Jew, Paul was a Jew, the early church were all Jewish.
Ephraim Graham, CBN News.
Pat, you got to ask if there's any regard for the historical significance of these sites.
I went one night to meet with Yasser Arafat. It was a weird night. I was transferred to a car with Palestinian license plates, and we went riding down the road in the pitch black dark into Bethlehem. And we went by this place, and the man who was with me, who was an aide to Arafat, said, "This is the tomb of Rachel. This is a special holy site for Arabs." And I said, Rachel was the wife of Israel. What do you mean, a holy site for Arabs? Well, we just think that's, she was very highly regarded by us. Well, I mean, it's Jacob's wife. And they're taking over her tomb and making it an Arab place. This is insane. But that's the way they do. I mean, they just live in a fantasy world, and unfortunately, this UNESCO thing is just absurd. It's an absurd organization that is controlled by the Arabs. But what is happening, folks, and I think you need to understand it, the tension is building and building and building. And if you read the prophet Zechariah, he said, you know, the nations are going to come against Jerusalem, and the houses are going to be sacked, the women raped, it's going to be a mess. But I think that we're in the process of seeing that happen. The tension, the hatred against Israel, the anti-Semitism is building up around the world. And Israel is going to find herself alone because we have a president here who is no longer her friend the way we used to be the friend of Israel. And Israel is going to have to depend on one source, and that is Almighty God. But just keep in prayer, because pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Blessed are they that love you. And I just believe that what we're looking at is moving toward a final conflict that may well usher in the coming of the Lord.